want to do is unlock Apocalypse difficulty, which you unlock by beating Obsidian Pinnacle on the difficulty, and then it unlocks the next one. And once you have Obsidian Pinnacle, you can just go straight to it. Preferably, you'd want somebody to just do it for you. Just do those two really quickly. And then going about getting to plus 20, the first thing I would do is try to get an evocation robe with 3 cooldowns. And what that will allow you to do is speedrun and not really have to worry about actually fighting the mobs. Then run these 3. And then you can just speedrun through Creeper Woods. Creeper Woods is no combat. So you can just run through it, no issues. And every time you beat an apocalypse, it unlocks the next 2 plus levels. So what you can do is you can just run through Creeper Woods 10 times, and you'll be at plus 20. And the reason you want to do that is because your blacksmith scales off of your highest apocalypse that you're able to go into. So once you unlock plus 20, your blacksmith will be able to give you will be able to upgrade commons up to 168 and rares up to 169, rares and uniques. And then that's the maximum drop for normal missions. Dailies can give up to 174 as the mission reward, but unless the daily is a good redstone mines or any Creeper Woods, you're probably not going to be able to clear it, because actually trying to fight the mobs instead of just speedrunning through them is borderline impossible on plus 20 with the 3-star daily on top of that. But you know, if you have some kind of build that is able to handle it, like maybe, you know, just something really tanky, because damage usually isn't really the issue. Damage is usually not the issue. It's usually the fact that you are just taking so much damage. They just one-shot you, pretty much. You know, you could do some shenanigans with having these 4 cooldowns, and then have a Ghost Cloak and an Ironhide amulet, and you'd be stacking like 95% damage reduction, at least. So you'd be extremely tanky, and you probably run a boots on top of that. So one tip is that if you're not pressing any direction and you press A, or whatever activate is for your platform, it won't attack, and it will always activate the thing you're near. I would do Soggy Swamp to get a evocation robe with preferably 4 cooldowns. That's what makes this perfect, because 4 cooldowns allows you to have Ghost Cloak permanently. And the best place to farm evocation robe is the Soggy Swamp. Or you could just ask someone to duplicate it for you. There is ways to duplicate, and there are ways to remove the gifted tag. So the way that you duplicate is very simple. You equip whatever you want to duplicate, and then clone the character on the main menu, and then you join someone, and then you like run through a crypt or something just to get your 300 or 400 emeralds, and then you can gift that to them, and you won't have it on your clone, but your main will still have it, obviously, because you cloned your main. The 2 best weapons, in my opinion, is either the Fighter's Bindings or the Cursed Axe. Or the Whirlwind. I like double axes because they have inherent AoE. They always hit something around them, so you don't need swirling, whereas you do need swirling on the bindings. But what I like about the bindings is they just keep going, whereas the double axe is a little bit slower. You could get rampaging to maybe supplement that. Like if you had lifesteal, you could get rampaging instead of leeching here, or you could swap out gravity entirely. Best bow, I would say, is either the harp crossbow or the auto crossbow. I don't have a good auto crossbow. Auto crossbow is more of a purely bossing weapon, but most ranged weapons are, because at least if you're playing like +8 to +14, like you're gonna be doing a lot of damage anyway with your melee. You don't need a bow, so I usually use bows exclusively for bossing. Redstone Mines is actually the fastest mission if you're speedrunning. If you are like semi-fast and you can't really go through the mobs without having to fight them, so if you don't have a speedrun cloak, which I would recommend getting first, like then I would run Arkhaven, because Arkhaven is the second fastest. And then if you can't handle combat at all, but you do have a speedrun cloak, Creeper Woods is no combat, so you can just run through it for the clear. And that's just for how to do blacksmith the fastest. So when you're running Soggy Swamp, the reason that you want to unlock Apocalypse is so you can play on Apocalypse Plus. You want to either do 1, 8, or 14, because those are the numbers that you get an extra reroll, and reroll just basically means you get more rares and uniques. You get more drops in general, really. For villagers, I would say Creeper Woods. Creeper Woods has the most villagers to rescue. Redstone Mines actually has a lot as well, and is much faster. For enchanted mobs, I would say Soggy Swamp is the best bet. Soggy Swamp has the most enchanted mobs, especially if you can handle like Apocalypse 10 to 14. There is a ton of enchanted mobs, specifically on Soggy Swamp, and I don't even remember what you do for this guy. He was super easy. Oh, I think it's just kill bosses or something. Probably Redstone Mines then, because it's very fast and there's a boss at the end of it. So for the optimal way to grind power, the optimal way to grind emeralds, first of all, is the Creepy Crypt. Just play on +8 or +1 or +14, whatever you can handle. I'll actually do a run here to show you like how to play Crypt optimally. What you want to do is you want to get a bunch of emeralds so that you can put your gear in the blacksmith and then run through Redstone Mines. Or you can just keep doing Crypt and keep getting emeralds and keep putting stuff in the blacksmith. And like I said, the blacksmith scales off your current plus that you can go into. So you want to do that first. And then, yeah, you just put whatever stuff you want to power up, and then use whatever you want to use. When you go into a mission, the drops in the mission will actually scale on what power you went into with. So you could go in at 169 and swap to whatever your main set actually is. Yeah. And then you can, what else? The way to remove the gifted tag is put the item you want to remove the tag on in the blacksmith, quit your game, and then restart it, run 3 missions, and the item will come out without a tag. So the best way, the optimal way to run Crypt is to ignore the combat mostly, and you want to look for these types of rooms. So that room I just went into, if you look on the map, you can tell by its shape that that's a chest room. There's also a couple other set pieces. Like this one is actually pretty rare. If you see this kind of like rectangular room, that's a chest room. There's a chest in the floor. This square room right up here, you can tell is not a chest room because of the little dots in the square. You see those 3 little dots there. You can tell that's not a chest room because of that. You can tell that's a tree room. Up here, this room is always in the dungeon. You just gotta do it. It's one of the combat rooms. There's 2 combat rooms, and they both actually reward a chest. One of them rewards 2 if you do the second combat. I covered power. I covered setups. But yeah, the reason you want to just do chest rooms in Crypt is because the combat sometimes can give you drops, but it's mostly a waste of time to do the combat. So you just want to do the chests as much as you can, and then just immediately come out. I'll put on bindings just to show you that it is good. So there's always a chest here next to the book. And then you can continue to clear this room and another chest will spawn. See? Another chest. So I'm not even going to go over there on the right because I know that will not have a chest. Right, in this kind of room, this little spider looking shape is a chest room. And you pretty much want to go opposite whatever the pointer is telling you to go. So you can see I just ran past everything, and because I see this shape, if you see this shape as a room, this is a chest room. So, you know, the little claw looking shit. Little claw looking thing. You can tell that's a chest room. So you just want to clear these guys out, and there will be chests. Sometimes enchanted mobs can drop you stuff, but it's really not worth the time invested. Because if you want to full clear a crypt, it takes much longer than just doing the chests. But, you know, if you have something with a lot of prospector and you want a full clear, then, you know, go right ahead. Like, if you have a diamond pickaxe with at least 2 prospector, or at least 1 prospector, and then maybe swirling and the other one, whatever it's called, shockwave. Swirling a shockwave on a diamond pickaxe, you could reasonably do some damage. A really good way to kill bosses is you want to get a harp crossbow with multi-shot and get a gong of weakening and a firework and two fireworks. And you put the fireworks on the harp and it shoots like 20 fireworks, and it pretty much one-shots the majority of bosses. I would say the harp crossbow is generally the best bow. Auto crossbow is up there, but I just really don't think that anything compares to the harp personally. So you can tell that there's a square room there, but you can tell that it's a tree room by the 3 dots. So I'm just skipping it because there's not going to be any loot in there for me. And then you'll come out with like 2,000 emeralds from that run. maybe more if you're running on plus 14. But if you can handle plus 8, you'll have like 2,000 emeralds per run, roughly. If you're only running on plus 1, you know you might get like 1,200, 1,500. But you just keep doing that, and if you have a boatload of emeralds, you can just put 3 things in the blacksmith and just run a redstone mine, just pop it out. Again, I really only do the dailies when they're either redstone mines or creeper woods, because actually trying to fight the mobs in plus 20 is ridiculous. Like, sure, you can do the dailies on lower power levels and they'll give slightly more than what they would normally give. Like, you clear it at plus 14 and it gives on level gear for the completion. Like, that's cool, right? That's good. But if you want to get to 174, you gotta do plus 20. So I'll show you a swamp, or actually I'll show you a plus 20 redstone mines. I'll show you that's not really that hard. Sometimes if I need a specific thing, I'll just put it on, or if I need a specific artifact, I'll just put it on plus 20 and then clear the level so it comes at a higher power. You can do that at 14. The best levels for farming a double axe would probably be the Soggy Cave or the Soggy Swamp. I prefer the Soggy Swamp because it has way more chests. I'll show you the optimal how to like spot the run for Swamp as well. So remember, if you're sitting still, you can just hit it without risking hitting an enemy. Not going to worry about that item because I'm just worried about the run right now. And if you die, it's no big deal because you have 3 lives. If you're running solo, it's really not an issue. Sometimes you can get gunked up if you're trying to speedrun in multiplayer. So usually what I'll do is I'll either have all 4 people speedrunning, or I'm the only one speedrunning, and everyone else is just waiting in spawn, and then I'll tell them I'm at the boss, and everyone will teleport, and then we'll have the daily done that way. And as long as you are running Apocalypse plus at least 1, the blacksmith will level your gear on level to on level. I really didn't even need the firework. It's probably the reason I died, because I tried to. I really didn't need it, because this harp is pretty godly. But yeah, as you can see, redstone mine's really not a massive issue if you can handle a boss. Really just takes a good harp and a gong, and maybe a couple fireworks, if you really need to. And I'll show you the swamp run next. I'll bump it down to like +8. There's a bug where if you're preferably you want to harp with multi-shot and accelerate for this, but if you just spam your bow before the boss spawns, there's a chance he just dies on spawn, and it saves you a decent amount of time. After you clear the dungeon part of Creepy Crypt and you're out in the forest, there is usually a gold chest in somewhere in that forest. Sometimes the pig will replace the gold chest spawn, but I usually don't waste my time looking through the whole forest. But just know that there is a high likelihood that there is a gold chest somewhere in that forest bit. Soggy Swamp has a boss loot. Technically, the cave does have a guaranteed gold somewhere in it, and there is a chance for a blue chest, an obsidian chest. There's also like 1 or 2 elite spawns that are guaranteed. There's like a chance for 4 elites, and there's just a ton of enchanted mobs. So if you wanted to full clear this level, I wouldn't hate it, because everything has a chance to give you a harp. And harp is one of, if not the best bossing weapon in the game. See, I'm just running through because I have a permanent ghost cloak giving me 80% damage resistance. And then I just stand still when I need to press the button so that I don't activate or I don't hit any enemies. It might help to have your map up here, but I've played this map enough to know exactly where I'm going, no matter what layout I have. But I guess I can put it up. So like if this was just a casual non-speedrunning run, I'd go to the left and right there, just to look for the gold chest. But I'm just showing for the video's sake, because I don't need any gear really. The gear I am looking for is like incredibly niche. I'm just showing, you know, how to route it, where to go, what it can have. So once you get past this chest, there's a chance for an obsidian chest. You want to take the stone here, because that's a little bit faster. Unfortunately, we did not get the obsidian chest layout. There's a little skip here. I may or may not get the boss one shot. Yep, he just spawned in dead because I was just spamming his spawn. And that's a swamp. Around that stone part is roughly where the obsidian chest spawns. If you get it, it will be an obsidian chest. Sometimes you'll have just a gray chest in that area, but it's a little dip that you go into, and hit the obsidian chest, and climb the stairs and keep going. The best place to try to get fighters' bindings, honestly, is to find someone who will trade or dupe a good one to you. It's pretty difficult to farm, but I would probably say cave is your best bet. Just run Soggy Cave at 14 or 20. Or lower if you can't handle that. There's a guaranteed obsidian chest. High block, if you has a guaranteed blue or obsidian chest. Sorry, I call them blue chests because they're less syllables. There's a guaranteed blue chest with the scatter crossbow and rapid crossbow, so you have a chance for harp and auto crossbow. So that's very good if you need a good bow, and you already have a decent melee, and you just want to get a harp or an auto crossbow because you just can't handle the boss or something. Maybe consider doing high block. The guaranteed blue chest is about 50 to 60% through the mission, but you can just run there, pop it, and then go back in. Desert Temple is also great if you need just power grinds. Like, if you just want power drops. That's what I did for a while. Just farming Desert Temple. If you don't want to do the blacksmith route, because Desert Temple drops one bow, but like 3 armors and like 4 weapons, and it's a very fast farm as well. We're not full clearing or anything, but there's a guaranteed gold chest with a chance for an additional blue chest. And it's very fast if, like, say all of your gear is 154, but your chest plate is 148. So you just need a bump somewhere to get your average up. I would say Desert Temple is great for that, because there's a guaranteed gold with a chance for a blue, which is quite handy. This is also the way that I would try to get Spider, or what is it? Wither. Spider or Wither armor. Spider and Wither are very good. They're just pretty difficult to farm. But if you can consistently do Desert Temple on plus 20, then you'll have higher chances. So sometimes the layout will be like, think if this map was 90 degrees, and then you roll over here, there will be a door right here, and it'll have the blue chest. If you need a battle robe, Creepy Crypt. If you need XP, the secret mission, the Moo level, the cow level, is a great XP source. When you full clear it, it's got a ton of mobs in it. Probably the most mobs out of any level. This is probably the place to go if you just need to farm XP for some reason. I don't need to do that because I've played so long. I'm 245. But if you need XP, that's where to go. Make sure that you check the villagers every time you come back to camp, just to see if they have something that might be interesting. See, like, look, bindings. I don't even have to farm now, right? If I didn't already have a bindings, that's a decent bindings right there. It's got radiance, it's got shockwave. I probably put weaken on it. You know, that's a good binding. It actually has crit. So if you wanted this binding specifically, you would need to have lifesteal, because crit is very important, and I wouldn't give up crit for radiance personally. You want to have one source of healing be on your weapon or your armor. So because I'm speedrunning, I have to have healing on my weapons. But, you know, if you had lifesteal, you could use something like this, Like if you want to go all out with the weapon strength, you would have to go with lifesteal. But if you want some armor that can do something else, like you want your armor to give you damage or speed, then you need healing on your weapon. Preferably leeching on slower hitting weapons and radiance on faster hitting weapons. I think that's pretty much it. The Ember Robe is not necessary. It's just I just have the Ember Robe with triple cooldown for the flex because it's a flex. You can make some pretty cool things with soul builds if you really wanted to. But I think just running with default stuff is pretty much all you need. Like you could do some quirky things with the Soul Lantern. Mystery Armor has the potential to be better than a lot of other uniques, but only with very specific roles that you couldn't get on other uniques. I think that pretty much wraps up the video. These are pretty much the only artifacts I would ever touch. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something.